Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Physical Therapy Marketing Strategies, how to know which ones actually work and which ones are guaranteed to drain your cash. My name is David Steinberg. I'm a founder of PT Referral Machine and principal consultant at Marketing Turnkey Systems. So today what we're going to do is try to spend an hour and talk about how to make money with marketing in a pretty objective way. Not just advice, but actual examples of live stuff that's been used, produced results, and a method to break down the stuff into its key elements and determine why it worked the way it worked and how to make it work better, and all of that good stuff that translates into actually making money with your marketing. To start off, what I'd like to do is just try to get your brain engaged and ask you a question and get you thinking about what a good ad should look like, a good ad to actually invest money in that will produce a return on investment. So I'm going to bring up a couple of ads, and there's 3 or 4 sample ads we're going to use today. Some of them, what I call the crummy ads, I picked up off the internet. So I'm not trying to embarrass or pick on anybody. I'm just trying to find typical content that will help us all take a look at what most of us are used to seeing as advertising in physical therapy and talking about how to make it work better. So if that's you out there and you see your ad, I want to apologize. There's absolutely no intent to embarrass anybody. So with that said, again, the question to get us going, which one of these ads would you pick to run for your clinic and why? So we're going to pull one up on the left called Delivering Platinum Level Healthcare, and the advertiser is Fusion Physical Therapy. And another one on the right, same format, and this is from our library in the PT Helps area. So just take a minute, take a look at them, think about what your initial reaction is to each one, and if you had to pick an ad to run that you wanted to make money with, which one of these do you think would produce a better result? Okay, so now that you've had a chance to think about that, I'm going to share with you the most frequent answers we get when showing ads like these to people that are new to the ideas that we're going to talk about today. And typically what we hear is that people choose usually the one on the left. And the reasons for that are that they say that it has more color, much better picture. The list of services is clearly in view. And the other one does not have a list of services, and there's too much copy to read, and nobody will read that. So that's typically what we hear, and that's okay if that's you. And now let's start looking at whether or not that answer is the one that will make us money. After the webinar, hopefully you will share the conclusion that the Fusion ad is a big waste of money. And why is it a waste of money? Well, to get results, first and foremost, you're not a brand builder. You're not McDonald's, you're not Coca-Cola, and you don't want to try to emulate their advertising style. And typically the big brand builders do things that we wouldn't be able to do because they have the budget, not only for creative, but the budget to run the ads that most of us don't. So small business owners typically need to take another strategy, and that's one of trying to generate response, as much response as you can for every dollar you invest in an ad. So it's not about design. For you as a professional services provider, it's about meaningful, educational, problem-solving content. You're a healthcare provider, not a brand builder. It's not about what you do or a list of services. It's about what problems you solve and the potential benefits of your treatment option for your target audience. So you think about what it is that you do in your clinic and how it compares and why it might be any better or any different than your competition. And if you have a tough time answering that question, that's something that you can get some help with. But if you're passionate about what you do and you care about the quality of care that you deliver, there's probably a story there that will give you what you need to be a good problem solver and help you distinguish yourself from your competitors with the way you deliver care. It's also not about too much to read. When your prospect is looking to solve a problem that you can help with, they will want to read more, not less. And you can think about your own situation when you're actually have a problem or something that you're looking to buy. Are you interested in learning more about it, or would you be object to reading a little bit more that helps you understand and sort out your solution options for whatever it is, or your product options for whatever it is you're about to buy? And what we find is that absolutely the case, it is the case that people prefer to read more when they're engaged in a problem solving than read less. And we don't need to debate that, because we're going to look at a formula later that allows us to objectively talk about that and score ads as to what we can expect them to produce for return on investment. All your marketing communications will need to do three things in order to get results. The first is you have to get the attention of your target audience. And that distinction between target audience and just grabbing attention of anybody is pretty important, because in order to make money with your ads, you want to make sure that the people that are in your audience are interested in your message and engaged by it. And for example, if I have back pain and I see an ad with Tiger Woods sitting in a Buick, and the ad is about back pain, chances are, if I'm not interested in golf and Tiger Woods, I'm going to pass over that ad, even though more people may look at Tiger Woods in a Buick than a picture of somebody with back pain. Does that make sense? So we want to grab the attention of the target, and then we want to provide them with problem-solving information. And then finally, we want to offer ways to learn more about the patient experience and the solution options that you provide. And do that without asking your prospect to book an appointment or to call directly to speak with you. When somebody is ready to book, if you run your marketing right, they'll let you know. So you don't really need to worry about that. And notice how the call to action or the offer in this particular piece focuses on calling. And calling is something that you can offer to do in your ad, but it's not really a good use of the space. So what do you expect from your investment in marketing? You should expect that you spend money and it gives you a return on investment. So you can spend your budget and hope for the best, or stay on the sidelines. But if you knew from experience that every dollar spent on a campaign returned at least $2, would that change the way you think about marketing? We think it would. And if you can get to that point where you have enough experience with getting a return on investment from your marketing, you'll understand what we mean when we say it's the ultimate leverage. To be able to have a formula for sending out marketing and knowing that it's going to produce a return is a pretty cool thing in business. So with that kind of leverage, it's a smart investment, and hopefully you won't think of it as an expense when you have a little success, and you'll think of it more as an investment. So to talk about that, we've got this little chart to sort of continue the conversation about what to expect to make money with your marketing. And a table like this can be scaled for any size business, but typically if you don't have any experience with strategic success in advertising, it's best to start with small numbers because it's easier to imagine yourself improving what you do now from whatever you're used to getting for response when you run advertising to something like, what would it be like to get 4 or 5 more patients out of a $2,500 investment in advertising? It's something that you probably can see is possible to do, so you can relate to a chart like this. And to expect your marketing a $2,500 ad to produce 8, 9, or 10 additional new patients is also not unreasonable and something that most of you should be able to expect once you nail down how you're going to do it. So now that we know what our communication needs to do, we can objectively measure the relative power level of the two concepts that we took a look at that we're going to look at here, one from our friends at PT Helps and the other from Fusion. And as you can see, we've given them what we call a score, a power level score, and the Fusion ad has a 1.2 power level, and the PT Helps ad has a 4.2. So the power level is like a test score. L0 is a total dud, and L5 is a powerhouse. We'll look at the principles behind the test that gives us these scores, and how they're going to help you avoid spending money on concepts that don't get results. In order to do that, we've got to cover a few principles or a few concepts first that will put all this in context for you. The first is the difference between strategic and tactical marketing. The distinction is pretty important, and the reason we like to emphasize this is because most marketers that we run into that engage us, part of their frustration and problem with marketing is that they've skipped the strategic process of developing a message, what to say and how to say it, and just jumped into the tactical marketing and started to spend money on ads without a lot of thought to what they say and how they say it. The next thing we want to do is to spend a few minutes talking about your target prospect's decision spectrum to help get you in the mode of thinking about your marketing communications not from your standpoint and how you feel about what you do, but from your prospect standpoint in their problems and frustrations when it comes to finding a provider for whatever it is that you do. And then we're going to look at the results formula. Results formula, two of the most important things we're going to talk about there are activators and hot buttons that are key to getting the formula off to a good start. So your strategic and tactical marketing, together they make a system. Apart, they just waste your money. So remember on the previous screen we talked about the things that your marketing needs to do in terms of grabbing the attention of your target, engaging them, educating them as to how you solve their problem, and then finally giving them a way to take the next step and learn more about what you do. And the process of determining all of that we call having something good to say and saying it well. It's a two-step process for building your strategy. Your strategy, again, simply what you say and how you say it. And there is a method and a system to developing that. It's not a creative process. You don't sit around and think about what people would want to hear and get creative about it with cute taglines and other things that you think are catchy. You need to be a professional problem solver and not a brand builder. Your tactical plan is just a media communications mix that you choose to deploy your strategic message. It's all the stuff that you have. It's your website, it's your clinic brochures, it's your patient guides, direct mail messages, email marketing, social media, all of the stuff that is messaging that you want people to consume to understand more about what you do and how you do it and how it compares to other providers makes you any better or any different. And if those two parts of your marketing are separated and worked on apart the way they should be, you will generate cash with your marketing and a clear return on investment from your efforts. So as I've stated already, the most common marketing goof is to mistake tactical marketing decisions for strategic. So that's why one of our sample ads, the Fusion ad, has a low power level and has no appeal, because probably what happened there is that the people that put that ad together were more focused on what the ad looked like and getting it out rather than what you say and how you say it in the ad. So to determine what you say and how you say it, you want to shine the light on your prospective patient or referral source. And you want to think about their problems from their point of view and understand that they go through a process in their head. And that process begins by them recognizing that they have a problem they want solved. In the case of a prospective patient, it could be something like back pain, which is the example we'll use here. But if it were a physician, it might be some other type of clinical problem that they're having. Maybe they don't know that it could be any better or different with another physical therapy provider. And clinical information from you can help them learn more about why your clinical experience and patient experience is any better or any different than some other provider. But it all works the same way. So if I determine that I have a back pain problem, maybe I step out into the driveway in the morning on the way to work, getting in the car, lean over to pick up the newspaper, and ouch, twinge of pain in my back. And now all of a sudden I'm on this thing called the patient decision process spectrum. At the very beginning, at that point where I just twinged my back, I'm thinking in an informal way about the problem, and I pull a file folder out that's in my brain that says, what do you do when you get back pain? And there's already some pre-existing information in it based on my prior experiences with back pain. I might have very little experience with back pain, or I might have a lot. But the point here is I'm at the beginning of the process of making a decision about solution options for my back pain. So I start gathering information informally, and initially there are objections of care to care. Some of the common objections are, maybe it'll go away, I'll just wait, so I'm not going to seek care. Or I've been through this 1,000 times and my doctor always says, don't worry about it, just give it time, it'll go away. Or another possible problem, which is more important for a physical therapist, is that they don't even consider physical therapy as a treatment option. So if that's the case, we need to understand that in order to participate in this process called decision facilitating with your prospects, we're going to have to help them understand the benefits of physical therapy for helping people with certain types of back pain. And once I overcome the objections to care, then as a prospect, I start thinking about the benefits and comparing the benefits of different treatment options, chiropractic care versus acupuncture versus going to my orthopedist who might recommend surgery versus some other approach like physical therapy. And I compare all of those treatment options based upon the information that's put into the file folder in my brain. And the people that put that information there are people like you. And the only way to do that is through your marketing and communication system, where you can get information out that people can consume so they understand why you're any better or different with your treatment option. Once they decide that they do want to get physical therapy, then in the decision process they shift their thinking from what type of care or solution option they're going to choose to which provider of that solution option is best for them. So we want to be able to help them understand what makes one provider any better or different than another, the standards of care, so to speak. So your clinic facilitates a decision process with important and relevant problem-solving information. That's your job as a marketer. And we're going to look and talk about why the crummy ads that your competitors are probably putting out only appeal to the people down at the end of the spectrum. They appeal to people that have decided that they're going to get physical therapy. The only question remaining is, where are they going to go to get it? And at first glance, you might think, well, those are the only people I really care about. But we're going to talk about why that strategy is underleveraged and won't work as efficiently or as powerfully as another strategy. And the key to understanding why the now buyers, or the people that are ready to buy, are really not the primary focus of your strategy, is that they're the smallest part of your target market. Your ready-to-buy people are only 1 to 2% of your entire market. Everybody else is out there gathering information about diagnosis and treatment options and have not yet made a decision where they're going to go to get care. So that's 98% of your target market is interested in learning more about what their options are. And that's the strategic opportunity that you have in your marketing. If you can communicate with this 98%, you'll automatically get more than your share of the 1 to 2% that selects or enters into care. So what does a concept look like that appeals to the entire spectrum, both the information gatherers and the now buyers? Because yes, that's exactly what your marketing can do and should do, is appeal to the entire spectrum. And the best way to begin to answer the question is to look more closely at what it should not look like. So again, back to the Fusion Physical Therapy ad. This is a good example of what your marketing message should not look like. The emphasis should not be the logo or a cute tagline like delivering platinum level health care. It should not rely on design. There's more attention paid here to the design of this than there is to the content, the message. The emphasis should not be information like a menu of services, staff pictures, or contact information, or sales puffery. Why shouldn't it be a menu of services? That seems to most people to be an important part of what they put and feel is an essential part of their marketing communications. Well, from your prospect standpoint, they're not necessarily looking for a physical therapist or one of these services, but rather they're looking for what to do about their back pain, what to do about their hip pain. So that's why a menu board of services is not as effective or appealing as it could be. So here's another example. Marcotte Physical Therapy, and there's a picture of the staff with their names and how to get in touch with them. And they're letting us know that they accept all major insurance and they have morning and evening appointments available. What is the emphasis here? Well, there's not much of a menu, so there's not even that. And it's more of a reliance on their company name and providing contact information So the strategy here is simply, if you've decided you're going to get physical therapy, here we are, and if we're near where you work or where you live, and we're convenient, give us a call. That's an underleveraged strategy that doesn't work the way it should or produce a return on investment like you would demand. So the formula should not rely on creativity. And this is a great example, not from physical therapy, but from plastic surgery, of an ad that is primarily relying on the impact of the use of graphic design and a photo to get your attention. And then they get lazy with their, and cute with their main headline, Time to Shape Up, which is a brand builder type of a headline. There's no problem-solving information in there. And then the other educational piece of this is simply a services menu. All of the stuff that you would already expect a plastic surgeon to do, and isn't really helping you understand why this plastic surgeon may be any better or different than some other plastic surgeon. And they finish with, it's a sensible subject and we take your concerns seriously. We call that cute, creative, but also it's fairly lazy. When it comes to problem solving, there's nothing more unsatisfying than these types of cute phrases and platitudes. So how do you spot some of those mistakes in your own stuff? You can do that with some simple evaluations. And here's another sample of a very typical physical therapy ad that is probably something that most of you look at and say you've tried something like that. And if you have, then I would guess that you didn't reorder this brochure and you don't use anything like it anymore. Why? Because it was bought as an image piece, something you thought would be helpful in generating business, and you were disappointed by it. So what are the evaluations you can do to avoid being disappointed by the content that you end up with in your materials? The first evaluation we like to call, who else can say that? A simple menu board of services is the same as your competition's most likely. So try to avoid using that. And the thing you can do to know if somebody else can say that is just take your competitor's name and put it on your ad. And if the ad still works, chances are you're failing the who else can say that evaluation. Using platitudes like exceptional healthcare, extraordinary experience. Those are very difficult claims to substantiate, and if you're going to use them, you better be ready to back it up with some form of additional clarifying information that tells you more about what you mean by exceptional healthcare and extraordinary experience. Because if you don't do that, what does your prospect do? In their brain, they say to themselves, do I really believe that? Prove it. Everybody says that. Here's just somebody else claiming that they're the exceptional and most extraordinary provider. Creates a credibility gap. Well, I would hope so. This evaluation is pretty straightforward. When you put things like integrated collaborative care with an experienced and caring team of physicians in your materials, you need to understand that this is exactly what your prospect expects you to say, and it has no marketing value. There's no reason to take action or respond to that. There's no problem-solving information there. It's simply sales puffery. And then the final evaluation. Do you create an emotional disconnect by making bold claims or providing other information that is not backed up or creates an expectation you can't meet and the reader can see right through that? Bold claims like revolutionary, they're unbelievable and you should avoid them unless you actually have something to back it up or a story to tell that brings some credibility to it. So now that we know what our ad shouldn't say, we're ready to use the results formula. And the first key concept here is a repeat of what we've already said several times. You need to learn to think problem solution from your patient's and doctor's point of view, not yours. I know it sounds simple, even obvious, but it's not easy to do in a marketing and advertising context. Many executives and decision makers make the mistake of thinking that knowing the formula we're about to introduce here is enough to apply it and get results. Well, it takes a lot of experience understanding how to run the formula to get results. And typically, to get the best results, you need to get really good in with one particular type of industry or prospect, where you get to know the hot buttons that work best to motivate and appeal to the target audience and how to articulate them. So we want to learn how to speak to patients and doctors about their problems and the solutions from their point of view by applying the results formula. So we're going to stay with the example of back pain. You have back pain and your brain is constantly scanning the environment and asking itself, what should I do about my back pain? So anytime information comes across your scanner that says something about back pain, you're going to immediately look for clarifying information. It's a reflex in your brain. You can't help it. When you're shopping for a Toyota Prius and you see an ad for a Toyota Prius, it's impossible not to look at it and be engaged by it. When you have back pain and you've been looking for a solution and you see something new in back pain information, it's impossible not to be engaged by it. And that's why this ad makes money, because it speaks to a particular hot button with back pain sufferers. One of the problems with marketing back pain is that everybody's heard it all, done it all, seen it all, and they're tired of messages about infomercials that have the hot pack that goes around the middle. You wear it all day long. The thing you lie on the floor and put your feet up, and that relieves your back pain. It's the most miraculous thing ever. So real back pain people, they've seen it all, done it all. So that's why articulating the problem in this way is more effective. Two groups of back pain sufferers. Which group are you in? So that has a very different interrupt and engage value than here's the latest and greatest, newest back pain belt ever invented. So those are some of the things you have to think about when you're articulating hot buttons and running the results formula. The right message following the results formula positions you for strategic success. And if you're doing it right, your clinic is also promoting the benefits of physical therapy and facilitating the decision process with important and relevant problem-solving info. Remember these crummy ads? Do they help solve problems? No, they basically say, if you need physical therapy, we're a physical therapist, give us a call. This one is really no different. It lists menu board of services that the audience would expect anyway, so it really won't work any better or differently than the Marcotte ad. So all your competitors are out there, and chances are 98 or 99% of them are running marketing programs using strategies like you see in the crummy ads, which appeal to who? Well, we said that those ads will work and they will appeal to the now buyers, the smallest part of the target market, the 1 to 2%. So they get limited or no results. Or maybe a better way to state it is disappointing results. These are not the types of ads that you buy and you say, I can't wait to run it again. So now let's see why the ads on the left, the crummy ad column, don't work the way they should, and why this ad on the right makes money. Let's take a look and see why. The answer is in this thing I keep calling the results formula, and you're probably scratching your head right now and saying, why does he keep talking about that? Because he hasn't shown it to us, and I just don't get it. Well, here it is. It's a bunch of elements that we put together, and you'll be able to spot them in all of those crummy ads and in the good ads and determine if they could be improved simply by hanging in there for the rest of this short presentation. Each element in this formula plays an important role, and they work together, and how they work together is what produces an L0 to L5 score, which we will look at in detail later. So don't worry that you don't know what that is or how to do it, because we're going to finish looking at this results formula, the elements of it, and then we'll be in a position to start scoring some stuff. So interrupt and engage. It's an emotional appeal. It's done with headlines, subheadlines, and graphics, and it needs to be problem-oriented to get your ideal prospect's attention. Once we poke your prospect's brain and say, hey, back pain people, listen up, they then seek clarifying information, and if they find it in the form of helpful, logical, case-building, problem-solving information, then you're in a position to get a result. You're building confidence with your education. You've tapped into the emotion of the problem of having something like back pain, and your prospect is looking for how you help them solve the problem and education on the problem. You're providing it, so you're building confidence that you're an expert in this area. And then finally, you provide a call to action or an offer that gives prospects a way to take the next step. And we don't mean give us a call and book an appointment next step. We mean, how do I learn more without booking an appointment? And oh, by the way, when I'm ready to book an appointment, you don't have to tell me to call to do it. I'm just going to do it because that's the nature of the process. If you follow this formula and have something good to say and say it well, you will get results. You'll capture highly qualified leads early in the decision-making process, and you'll have a much greater impact on the 1 to 2%. You can speed up that decision process with good decision facilitating marketing, and you can also grab a much larger share of that 1 to 2% that we talked about comes out at the end. So it's a proven formula for results. And here it is again in more detail. Interrupt and engage. It's done with activators and hot buttons. And what's the difference? We said at the very beginning it was really important to understand the difference. And the reason it's so important is because if you don't interrupt and engage successfully, that means you have not captured the attention for even a nanosecond of your target audience, which means you're in no position to educate them and no position to make an offer because they're not listening. So that's why it's so important to get the top part of the formula right. Interrupt and engage, again, done with activators and hot buttons, and they're expressed in your headlines, subheadlines, and graphics. What's more important, the words in the headlines and subheadlines or the pictures and the graphics? The answer to that is absolutely the words. Without the words, if you take away those headlines from that graphic, your prospect has no idea what you're talking about. The only way they can figure it out is with the headlines and subheadlines. That's why you see captions under pictures in a newspaper, because you take those captions away, you have no clue. So if somebody comes to you with marketing advice that says take those words off or shorten that headline, make it only 6 words because nobody will read more than that, show them the door because they don't know what they're doing. They belong with the creative brand builders, the big companies that are not trying to generate response with each dollar of investment. We educate in our ads, in all of our communications. We teach the prospect what they need to know, and they educate copy. So interrupt and engage is done with the headlines and subheadlines, and then we're going to be educating. To catch them to read educate copy, or I shouldn't say catch, to get them to progress and be interested in and engaged with the ad, the activators got to first poke your brain, get your attention. Something like the E-Trade Baby is one of my favorite activators because it's very entertaining. I love watching the E-Trade Baby, and I'm really disappointed they fired him. But it's a great way to get attention. It's cute and entertaining. The problem with that type of activator is it's not as effective for a professional services provider as hitting the problem like headache pain. So one activator here is the E-Trade Baby. That's good for the brand builders. Pokes your brain, gets your attention. Another activator is a problem like headache pain, which is more what you need to do in your marketing to get results. Once we've poked the brain with the activator, the brain automatic reflex says it searches for additional clarifying information, and it needs to find it in the form of something important and relevant to the prospect. So promises for solutions to my headache pain is a great hot button that will engage headache people and put you in a position to educate and teach them a little bit more about your philosophy on how to solve their problem. When you do that, your prospect is going to draw the conclusion that you're the best choice and view you as the expert. And once you've done that, your prospect is going to be ready to respond and interested in the right type of offer. It's important that these are crafted carefully. In this particular situation, the offer box is clearly spelled out. Anybody can glance and scan this ad and pick up the main elements of the results formula, the headline, the subheadline, and then immediately see the offer. And in it there is an important, what we call handle to the offer. Here it's called a headache survival guide, and then we tell the reader what they're going to learn if they request that guide. And that's how we provide what's called a risk-lowering offer. Risk-lowering, not financial risk, but marketing risk from the prospect standpoint. They don't have to invest anything, time, money, or otherwise, in order to get the information and evaluate it on their own at their own pace. Scan it, read it, crumple it up, whatever they do with it, as long as they don't have to go through a lot of effort to get it, we call that a risk-lowering offer. The other kind of component of your offer you need is what we call a promotional or trial component, something that allows everybody from now buyer all the way back to the beginning of the spectrum to decide when they want to try your product by booking an appointment or a free consultation or whatever it is that you have crafted in your offer. In this particular offer, there is an offer for a free screening so that people that want to learn more without making a commitment to treatment are able to think about taking the time and going through the effort to come in and do the screening. If you follow that formula, you're going to get results. So how do you get started using the results formula? Well, unfortunately, there's no easy answer to it, and to get started, the hardest work is up front. The first thing you need to do is think about what your business does that's any better or different than your competition in terms of patient experience and or treatment or other value-added service. All that stuff together gives you something good to say. So if what you do is no better or different than your competition in the waiting room, for example, and it's the typical waiting room experience, you can probably innovate that a little bit to fix it. The typical waiting room experience is a patient comes in, some harassed receptionist behind a desk shoves a clipboard at them, asks them if they have their insurance card, and tells them to go sit down and fill out some paperwork. That's pretty much how it goes with 99% of healthcare providers. Do you think from your prospect standpoint that if that experience were more pleasant and different, that that would make a difference? Do you think that if you did have something that were more pleasant, that a lot of people wouldn't go home and say, hey, guess what happened to me today at the physical therapist's office? I walked in and that's never happened before. That's what we mean by having something good to say. It's not just treatment and clinical issues, it's patient experience. So you need to innovate to stay ahead of your competition. And that's best facilitated with support from someone with experience in strategic consulting. It's very hard to do this on your own, and only the most experienced marketers are in the habit of continually innovating their business to stay ahead of the competition. So we would strongly encourage you at the outset to get some help from people in your industry that have succeeded with innovating their business in both patient experience and in providing care, and learn how to do that with some help. Then once you have something good to say, you want to say it well, and you want to have L4 to L5 power level. Anything less than that, you really shouldn't expect to get much results. Now, to get an L4 or L5, that's directly dependent upon your have something good to say. You can't take an average also-ran provider that has a sales issue and says, fix it for me, just give me good marketing, run the results formula. That's a problem. What are we going to say that's going to be compelling? It has to be something that you bring to the table in order to be able to get results from your marketing investment. And that may sound overwhelming and difficult, but I can assure you that if you're good at what you do, then there are simple ways to innovate and then articulate them in your marketing to be able to produce L4 to L5 stuff. So you should consider partnering with an expert in using the results formula for the PT industry. You really want somebody that has experience understanding people with back pain, understanding Medicare patients, understanding all of the different things that you deal with that you don't want a marketer to come in and have to learn on your nickel. The only way they're going to learn it is to put this stuff out there and see what results they get before they rerun the formula to try to make it work better. Because that's what the results formula allows you to do. You're always looking for what works better. So you want to start with the good level of success that allows you to make money right out of the gate. So now that we know what our communication needs to do, we can objectively measure the relative power level of these two concepts to predict how they will actually perform. So the power level is like a test score. It's the L0 to L5 you've heard me talk about. And the L5 is what we're after. That's a powerhouse. And we had two ads. One of them was a dud, a 1.2. And the other was a pretty good ad that I would recommend anybody run to make money with, a 4.2. And now, what is the scoring? How do you score L0 to L5? Well, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Each element that we've talked about is broken down with different criteria that you can use to understand what's missing from it. So headlines, for example. You got to have a headline. So with no headline, you get a 0. And with our delivering platinum level healthcare ad, we do have a headline. It says delivering platinum level healthcare. So the writing evaluations don't allow us to score it more than a 1 because we don't have the right activators and hot buttons in that headline. There's no problem solving information in there. There's not even an activator. It's nothing. So it is a company name or play on words, and it does nothing to beg the reader to continue. So they get a 1 for that. Well, if you score a 0 or a 1 in your headline, then you get an automatic 0 on engage because you can't engage a reader that you can't interrupt. So that's an automatic 0. Educate and case building. This is the problem-solving information that builds confidence and helps your reader understand why your solution option is any better or different than what they might have already experienced or know about. So without any here, the education information is simply a menu board of services. And we've already talked about why the menu board of services is not compelling. And we have some educate points because you have to consider that giving people a services menu is somewhat educational, but the problem is that those features are just generically listed and they're not quantified and there's no compelling points to it. For example, you could make a big case for sports rehab if that's your thing and you're passionate about sports rehab. You have 45,000 of this equipment and 45,000 more of that equipment, and you have 13 professional athletes that you've treated in the last 12 months. And whatever your story is, there's something good to say, you can build a very powerful and compelling case. But this is not going to help you do that. So the educate gets a 1. And finally, the offer. What do we have in this that is going to compel and spur action so that your prospect tugs on your sleeve and says, hey, that's me, I have back pain. I like and need sports rehab. Can you tell me more about that? Well, if all you have in there is a call for more information type of an offer, and you don't have an offer for more decision facilitating information that they can read on their own at their own pace and get it without any trouble, then you don't score well in that area, and that's why this gets a 2. They do tell the prospect to call for more information or to speak with the representative, and that's about as far as that goes. And finally, the interrupt and engage format. This is the overall flow of the ad and the design. And this certainly has adequate design, and there is some logical flow to it. I can read the headline, see the services menu, and then see who the advertiser is and how to get in touch with them. So that gives us the basic structure, but it lacks power due to poor articulation and not spacing here, but thought flow. So that gets a 2. So now, like we're grading the figure skaters, we have objective elements that we can look at, and when we know something about the elements, we're able to grade them. We add the score up and divide by the number of elements to give us our score here, and that's how we get a power level of 1.2. And what does that mean? What should we expect from a 1.2? Well, it doesn't interrupt, it doesn't engage, and gets no results. And this is what most people write. So at this point in the webinar, you should have a pretty good sense of whether or not this stuff is typical in what most people write, or whether it's not, and whether this stuff is less typical and much rarer, and when you do see it, maybe there's a reason why it works better. So let's look at the 4.2. I'm going to turn my laser pointer off here to get the 4.2 to come up. Having difficulty doing that. Here we go. And here's the 4.2 worksheet. There is a good headline that draws the reader's interest. We can work on articulation by having a more powerful value proposition or something good to say. And this generally passes the headline evals. 2 groups of back pain sufferers, which group are you in? Subheadline, one group knows about how physical therapy can help and the other does not. And additional clarifying information in another subpoint. So we've got pretty good engage content here and headlines. So we get a 4 in both. The engage is got good use of hot buttons, good use of subheads, and gives reader the promise of useful problem-solving information ahead. Case building. Well, it's really difficult to make a unique case for back pain treatment, but this ad does a fairly good job of using what we've got to educate the prospect a little bit about the 4 key benefits of physical therapy that they might not have otherwise been aware of. And that's important for physical therapists to do right now, because most people don't understand when they can use a physical therapist and whether or not they can even treat something like lower back pain without a doctor telling them to do it. And then the offer. This is an excellent offer. It has a good offer for a patient's guide where you're going to learn more about this particular treatment option and some other things about back pain. And then finally the format. It follows all of the rules that we need to follow with respect to layout and flow and design, and gets a 5. So we've got a 21 pointer divided by 5 gives us our 4.2. So that gives us a pretty objective scoring system to be able to look at these ads and not only determine which one we would want to invest our money in, but also helps us dial in on what needs to be worked on in order to make them work even better. The 1.2 should be made stronger, and the 4.2 should also be made stronger. We're always looking for a 5. 5s are very, very rare. So once you experience strategic success by following that formula with your marketing, you'll want to set it up like a machine and say it often. It's amazing the transformation between a client that hasn't experienced making money with an investment in their marketing and one that has, and how they all of a sudden can't wait to run the next ad. So that's what happens, and that puts you in the mood to run your tactical marketing plan, to meet all that stuff that you use to deploy your message. That includes social media. You know, the whole myth, the social media myth that, oh, I got to be doing social media. Again, what principle does that violate? When I jump to the tactical medium without the strategy. So everybody's hyped up. Oh gosh, I got to get on social media. I got to be posting a blog post every day. I got to be this. I got to be that. And they're running to take care of the tactical stuff. And they're spending absolutely no time thinking about the content, the strategy, what you say and how you say it. But once you do that, and you run that formula, you're also going to need some patience and make sure that your internal marketing is in place before you start generating the kind of activity you can by running ads in your external marketing to drive in new leads. So your internal marketing, you use the results formula to create patient materials, and it systematizes the sales process. And there are many techniques and topics and all kinds of things that new patients are interested in that you can provide. And it also helps make a connection with the therapist when they are connected to these materials. Compliance and cross-promotion programs, that can be very inexpensively implemented and supported with point-of-purchase signage following the results formula. And then surveys, feedback, and referral programs are absolutely critical, foundational stuff for any physical therapy practice. And if done right, they produce money. And receptionist scripting and training. There's an awful lot of business that is lost through the phone. But when you start working your marketing this way, you begin to see opportunities to script and train people to help you capture more business through the phone. And reactivation program. The huge opportunity out there for physical therapists deals with this whole convergence of wellness services with rehab and creating a relationship with your rehab patients for life. There's no reason why you can't create simple programs that you can offer to your existing patients to continue the relationship beyond simply a simple plan of care. And once all of that's in place, you're ready to really enjoy the fruits of a productive external marketing program. Anything from direct mail, I'm not even listing social media here because that's a whole nother topic. But direct mail to physicians and consumers can be very straightforward, simple to manage, and easy to get results from. Internet ad campaigns. Yes, rather than just saying Joe's Physical Therapy, here's how to get in touch with us, and we're open with convenient hours, Monday through Sunday. You can do more and do better with that in internet ad campaigns, even with the shortened headlines that you're limited to with many of the online advertising opportunities. Print and broadcast ads, event marketing, practice rep support materials. And just to show you how this strategy, results formula, doesn't need to be limited to print, or here's a sample of the results formula used to generate leads for neuropathy care in radio. Radio is still a very important medium for people in this demographic. And here's a sample to give you an idea of how the formula sounds in an audio. Well, maybe not. Let's try that again.
Happens while you're sitting in a recliner reading or just relaxing.
Start it again.
If you or anyone you know is a diabetic suffering with painful, numb feet, and doctors say nothing can be done to reverse the symptoms, then Proactive Physical Therapy wants to tell you about a breakthrough treatment that restores sensation, reduces pain, and improves balance. This new, drug-free, non-invasive treatment was recently reviewed by the Joslin Center. The Joslin reported that medical professionals previously thought this condition was progressive and irreversible. That is, until now. This painless treatment happens while you're sitting in a recliner reading or just relaxing. The amazing new treatment is near-infrared light therapy. To help you understand this new treatment, call Proactive and we'll send your free patient's guide, which explains how near-infrared light actually works to relieve pain and restore sensation, and what other patients and the Jocelyn Report say. Your free guide also has information you can share with your doctor. To request your free guide, call Proactive Physical Therapy at 410-0073. That's 410-0073. And get your free guide today or online at proactiveptclinics.com.
What did you think? Did you hear how it followed the flow of the formula? Did you hear the interrupt and engage at the top? Did you hear the educate copy explaining about the Jocelyn Report and the problem to date? Did you hear the offer to get more information without scheduling an appointment? That ad in its first 8 spots generated 37 phone calls. What to expect from your investment? Obviously, remember the chart that we looked at the beginning? I don't know how you felt about it. It might have made you uncomfortable. Nah, I'm not spending money on every time I do it doesn't work. Why would I do that? Well, hopefully now after an hour of talking about what can work and what doesn't work, maybe you have a different feeling. That now you can look at a chart like this and you can see how investing $2,500 in an ad can very likely and most possibly will produce a result if you follow the right strategy. Is it reasonable to think about running a campaign like that and generating 6 or 7 new patients from the investment? Heck yeah. And as you get good at it, you can scale this table and raise the bar and get more and more out of it. So that concludes the webinar. If you've got questions, please email me at the address on the screen. If you'd like more training on this method, you can visit us on our website and the boot camp page and learn about how that works. And finally, if you're interested in learning how to get support for implementing a strategic marketing system in your physical therapy business, you can get our implementation guide on the website and see an overview of what it takes on your end to get started and how this all works. Thanks again for joining us, and look forward to seeing you again on another webinar. Take care. Bye-bye.